Many warm blessings. It is an honor and such a joy to be here with you today on this Sunday or whatever it is when you are listening, remembering in no time and space, and it's all connected simultaneously in existence. It's an honor to be with you today. My name is Katsura Balanza, and I'm so deeply grateful to be
Mm.
joined here today. Yesia, welcome.
Thank you so much. I love being here with you.
And yes, we got to do a little broadcast a couple weeks ago, and since then, a lot has passed. At the time, we were in the height of the massive fire. Since then,
Mm.
we've had a new moon, we've had the equinox, and I would love to hear a little bit of what you have been noticing coming up in the collective and your personal experience as is
Mhm.
inspired to share. And before we delve into that, I want to go ahead and just take a moment of silence and honoring the Akashic Records, giving our gratitude. Hmm. So it is. The Akashic Records are open. Hmm.
Mm. So, what I've been feeling is that our emotional bodies are very much affected by what is going on in the planet, with the elements as well as with the other energies that are present for people that are being fed into the planet, and also astrological energies. And I was seeing that with the fires, there was a lot of like passion, um, both, I guess, in both polarities, I guess, quote unquote, positive and negative. But there was like a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of like sexual passion, a lot of intensity. And now it feels like we're coming into a time of working with the water, allowing things to shift. And water can take many different shapes. So allowing things to either be watery and flowy, or allowing things to solidify that we are choosing to keep in our fields and in our minds and in our hearts. It's also a time of washing away things from the past and allowing us to be really present with how do we ride the waves that are present in our lives right now. So it really feels like moving out of one element and into another element, and it's giving us a fresh start.
Hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. I like that
Mm.
question there. How do we ride the waves of this watery experience, of the emotional experience that we are going through right now? And I would like to take a moment to just deepen into that. Okay. And so like what's coming through is like, like riding the waves. So like here we are surfing. And first of all, like, wherever we are on our journey, being really okay with that. So there's some pro surfers out there, and it's beautiful and inspiring to witness them and be able to be inspired by how beautifully they surf, they ride these waves. And then, and then there's also like beginning surfers, and there's a different aspect to that. And wherever we are on our journey, wherever you are on your journey right now, don't judge where you're at in that process. Allow yourself to just be in that process. Allow yourself to learn, maybe it's just building up the courage to go out and like really take the plunge, like to focus on that. Like, what are the things that help you to feel more vibrant in your body, to feel that connectivity to the watery element, to the strength of the waves. Like, see the strength as something like beautiful,
Mm,
inspiring, as something, and see the reflection of yourself in that. If you're experiencing something hard and challenging in life, then see that as like, wow, okay, it feels really challenging right now. How amazing that I have reached this level of my self growth and development, that I'm ready to take this on, that I am ready to face this. And so, as you, whatever you, the waves are coming and you're getting ready to ride those, just really be in that strong sense of gratitude for
mm,
having the opportunity to venture out onto these waves. You've
mm,
got the tools, you've been doing the work, you've got the surfboard, you've waxed it nicely, and now it's like that time to like take
mm.
that plunge forward. And and if you need some time to like kind of like evaluate, like do that. Don't get lost in that evaluation to where you work yourself up. Take a moment maybe to evaluate, and then center back into your heart space, and once you feel like, okay, I've evaluated, I'm ready, I'm gonna like bring it strongly into the heart, and then move forward, and just be ready for anything. It's okay if don't get up on that first one. You gotta keep going, keep trying, keep, maybe doing a different angle. Maybe you try like just taking a smaller wave instead of biting off that really big one. Like, say, okay, that was fun. I'm glad I gave it a go. I'm just going to take a step back right now and focus on this aspect of the project, or this detail of the bigger project of what I'm working on. And that's like, it's like riding a smaller wave, like riding that's like one step at a time. And then if that feels easy to you and it's simple, and you feel like, if you feel like, if I mean, anytime feeling boredom, like that's a sign that like, okay, you're ready to ride a bigger wave. um if you start to sense any type of boredom, or just even lethargy, sometimes you think like lethargy is like, okay, well, I just need a rest, or it's like, okay, well, actually, like, you're being asked to like push yourself. It feels like this like restful energy, and really it's like this, like the universe is like asking you to like kind of take like a little like, push yourself in a healthy, loving, gentle way. And whether that's just like taking time to write one small poem, or just a small walk, just a little something like to push your that comfort zone. And maybe it's a new project you've been thinking about, but haven't really been feeling like you're ready to try. Well, perhaps like now is the time.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I've definitely been feeling like on a personal level that really strong um watery energies. Like during the fires was definitely this just like shoom, hot, like fiery, passionate anger, lots of really what I had to do was just go take a time out in by the ocean. And oh yeah, a nature timeout.
Yes, yes.
Gaia timeout. um and so is there anything you'd like to add to that, Yesia?
Mm. Yeah, another thing that was coming to mind is about how our bodies are mostly made up of water too, and that the studies of cymatics has shown us that any kind of even small vibration energy that we put into the water affects the entire container of water. And so, even if we put in a small amount of gratitude or a small amount of love into our bodies, into our hearts, into our fields, it's going to vibrate and radiate through all of it. And the more that we do that, the more it will just we will change shape, and we will give ourselves the opportunity to show up in a different way and to experience life in a different way. And so there's an encouragement there to do that for ourselves and to do that for one another, even if it's just on a subtle level.
Oh, I love that. Like
Mhm.
before we have our water, taking a time to like tell it you love it, or it's
Yeah,
beautiful, and then drink that.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Or for the Reiki energy workers, give it a little extra energetic love. And
Hmm.
everyone, we're all energy. We're all energy workers. So, whether it's like fine tuned and studied, or, if we're just practicing and playing with it, like maybe that's, something to work on. We can like explore working with energy and have been doing it, like how can we take it to that next level and like really hone in on that. Oh,
Hmm.
that's another thought that's coming through. Like right now, especially everything is so like amplified. Um, Listening to Essence, Catheris has recently been talking about like coming into like the emerald core, like kind of this activation.
Hmm.
And so it's like right now, like the energy work we do is really like feeding into that. And so, and
Hmm.
like into that, into what? Like here's the emerald core. I'm not hugely aware that it's not something I've been really like tuning into or tapping into a lot. But I do see like that, like, the oneness, the collective, like the crystalline energetic, like creation that we do as a humans right now, as these beings that we are. And so it's just like, yeah, so much like has been cleared away recently within like the whole corona experience, these fires. And so like with this great clearing, there's just this amplified room to really oh,
Hmm.
expand.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that too. Opportunities for expansion and for clearing and for letting go and for moving forward in an easy and graceful way.
Hmm. Yes. All right. And um, yeah, so let's go ahead and bring on Akash. Hi, welcome. Thank you for.
Hey,
Hi,
yeah, thanks
Akash.
for having me. Hey, how's it going? Yes, yeah,
Good.
good. Yeah, I happened to recognize this was starting about 10 minutes before it did, so um, I guess it just kind of worked out nicely.
Thanks for joining. What
Yeah.
what kind of questions do you have today?
Um, God, I was trying to think of what I really wanted to ask, and I guess there were certain things y'all were talking about that were very pertinent to what I'm going through because I just sort of feel like these like while very rewarding since I've started taking the path that I'm now currently on that's taken me out of like where I was brought up and into where I am now, it just feels like an intense amount of like just like tumultuous energy that I'm like
Mm,
having to work through in order to like, and I've seen like deep glimpses and like I have a deep awareness of something better than what I'm currently experiencing. Um but I'm continually like kind of revisiting these old thought patterns and experiences that are bringing me away, and so I guess I would ask like what can we do to replenish ourselves when we're in the eye of the storm, not so much like the calm of the eye of the storm, but like just in the middle of it all, going through some pretty intense transitions.
mm. Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is to anchor into the earth because she is always a core strength in the midst of the chaos. And also, it reminds me of getting stuck in undertows or getting stuck in a whirlpool. And the best thing that we can do is let go of trying to struggle with it and just allow the flow to push us out because there's a natural cycle um, things completing if we allow them to complete. But if we struggle with it or we try to hold on to it, then we're getting ourselves deeper and deeper in that cycle or in those thought patterns. So the strongest thing that's coming through is to anchor into the earth, to ask the earth and the elementals for their support in staying grounded and staying strong, and then surrender and let go of the process. Allow the emotions to come up and be fully present with them without the story, and just with the energy of it, and just as you're with it in full presence, then it dissolves and it moves out. And then maybe there's another layer underneath that comes up for you to be present with, and then it dissolves and move out. So as long as you don't hold on to the struggle or keep attaching to the suffering of it, then it will cycle out of you. And that's what I'm getting.
That is beautiful. The only thing I would add to that right now is and so that feels like, so like the visual, like what you can like imagining, like when you said like not in the eye of the storm as in the calmness, but kind of just like, you know, in that chaos, it almost had this feeling of perspective as you're moving through it, being kind of like are also chaotic in a sense, which is okay. And sometimes it feels really natural for that to happen, especially with life conditioning and, and perhaps, and, not being taught as children how to like do breath work, how to like really move through things in life. It's not, it's not in a curriculum at school. It's not one of the things we're taught. And so it's not deeply ingrained as we come into adulthood. And so now in adulthood, we want to focus more on that so that we can be the calmness in the storm, so that there is, like energy moving, and there's this chaos, and it's, this beautiful perfect storm. Looking at a storm from above, it's this really, it's gorgeous, it looks, and it's perfect, it's just, it looks so well organized actually. But the midst of it, yes, it's tearing stuff up, it's moving everything around, and that can be hard. But at the same time, like seeing that storm that has come into our life, that on a soul level we've welcomed in, because we're ready for growth and for the next level. And so exactly what like Yesia was saying, like connecting with the earth in that process, like it feel like, she mentioned that maybe a little further away, like she said, like really just connecting back to the earth, coming back into like moving through the different obstacles, like really focused on the connection to breath, to earth. And remembering like we can be that calmness. We don't need to get swept up in it. And that, we can like, well, I can't remember how that quote goes exactly, but like be the peace you want to see, like really hold that energy even amidst all of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes that means, taking space from where we're at, and maybe it's a situation where we just need some space from, and it's okay to like, say like that's what's going to help right now, is taking some space.
Yeah. I thank you both. I felt that that was all very valuable and pertinent. I'm up on Morgan's property right now
Oh,
because
wonderful.
Chaz and I were doing some work over here, and I've kind of just like had the place to just like do it, like just like give myself some space to rest and like be. And I don't know if you've been out here, but it's freaking gorgeous. And there's a spot like by a creek that I was grounding in on earlier. So
Oh,
that's
that's
really
beautiful.
cool.
Yeah, being in nature, that definitely helps.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's been interesting just I guess adjusting the way in which I'm seeing the world as I've gone through some of these like more recent journey experiences, and kind of I'm redefining spirituality for myself.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Good. What is your new definition?
Well, I feel like I've been kind of caught in what happens a lot of the time when we're spiritual, and it's more so like appear it's more so based around almost like appearances of the way things are as opposed to the way things are. And I think that like it's been playing into the parts of me that are like really looking to be accepted by others. And all I keep finding are situations in which I have to really radically accept myself. And one of the things that I've been struggling with is just finding like solid home. Like I didn't really know what like home, safe home felt like with my parents, just because we're so radically different. And then like when I left that life to go do what I wanted to do, which was explore, I wasn't supported by any of the people. So it just kind of became radical, like you know, trusting the universe.
Yeah.
And the universe only like takes you know, you can trust the universe, but the universe expects you to work too. Like you have to meet it with that. So it's like I have been having to balance out like the very real reality of like my spiritual self noticing signs, but then like my practical logical self knowing how to like actually apply movement and action. And then like um, I've had to take so many leaps, and at the current moment, like I'm blessed that I've had this place to just kind of get to be in for a couple days and like collect myself. But I'm like I've been truly struggling with finding a way to like live in my purpose and also like live in a way where I can like meet all of my needs, like in a home with like, you know, a space to be, and like just trying to figure out how to like navigate through that. Because the only way that I would have done that in my previous life would have been if I had like finished college and gotten a real job and like did all the things, and I didn't do that. Sometimes I kind of like wish I had had my awakening post that experience, because then it'd be like, oh, I don't have to worry about like, you know, um I guess like money as much. But the experience has been sort of shifting into like focusing more on what I want rather than like how to get what I want. And
Mm,
um it's
I'd
just very
love
challenging when we're in fight or flight.
I'd love
mm,
to say something to that, like redefining what it is to have a real job, redefining what it is to be successful in this life. I do agree. Like money is essential, so important. We want abundance of that. It's this beautiful energy form that we use to exchange you know, our gifts, our services, um, and to receive gifts and services. And so call that in, you know, really create a healthy relationship with money. And then also like really let go like of a lot of conditioned beliefs of what is successful at this stage in life. Like you say, like, you know, it would have been nice to have done that, and then you'd have the resources, and then you'd start your awakening journey. But clearly you
Yeah.
didn't want that, you know. There's a reason you chose another path. And while, you know, the grass looks greener on the other side, really like coming back into that sense of gratitude that you have taken the time to build yourself how you have up until this moment, that you've really
yeah.
focused strongly on what's really called your passion. You didn't, you know, you
Mm,
didn't let yourself like go to sleep. You didn't let yourself kind of turn off so that you could fit into a box that's not you. And that is huge right there. That is such a huge accomplishment in a society where there's so much pressure to fit into that box. And you chose, you saw
mm,
it. Maybe you tried, maybe you didn't, but you saw it and it just didn't work for you. And so you chose the other route, which, you know, now Yes. Oh, this Wookie Foot song is really great. Some people are so poor, money is all they have, you know? And that sense, like, yes, there is that sense of like poverty where you don't have that much money. And there's also like poverty and love, poverty and happiness, you know? And so, like, look at the areas where you're abundant, you know, and really be in that spaciousness and that abundance mentality, giving yourself a lot of credit and a lot of gratitude for what you have done while healing the wounds that are preventing you from having that the next source of abundance. You know, it's like check, check, we've gotten those checked off. So now you're focused on the money, like how to really bring in that money.
Well,
Uh,
it's like bringing in money is just the byproduct of doing the thing that like I like doing. It's that it's been the obstacle between me and just like having normal things in life that I grew accustomed to, like kind of growing up, but without that sense of like sometimes I get the sense that people can like build their home and they really like feel at home. And I've only really ever felt that when I've been at like other people's homes that have already like been made. I'm like learning to build it so much within myself because everything is constantly being like knocked down, destroyed, changed, shifted.
mm,
Actually, I feel my relationship with money has been improving. It's less about like, you know, if I'm gonna like, have enough and just more about how I'm gonna get it and like just flowing. But yeah, thank you.
Sounds like you're on the right track.
And
yeah.
yeah, in a lot of ways. I think that the thing that's been really helping me like is taking some space for myself and then like community support in a lot of ways, just having people to bounce certain things off of and just yeah, it's just been good like having like people to do stuff with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
thanks so
Yeah.
much for answering questions. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, of
was
course. I hope
yeah,
that was helpful.
yeah, no, it's helpful. I think a lot of my stuff is in like attachment to outcome as opposed to just like really being in the moment and allowing while also taking action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Akash.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you're
Yeah.
welcome to stay on and listen. I'm gonna bring you um, backstage, as we call
Okay,
it.
cool. Yeah.
Thank
I might or
you.
might not, but I'll see you guys um sometime soon.
Okay. Bye, Akash.
Yeah.
Bye.
By the way, I would love to do a Reiki trade sometime. I know we've been talking about it. That's still.
Yeah. I've got
Mhm.
I have a friend that offered a space that I can use for Reiki too. So you might actually know her just because I met her through the Heart Temple. It's
Mhm.
Crystal. But
Cool.
yeah, that'd be awesome
Yay.
if
Mhm.
when our schedules can align.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll see you.
Oh, beautiful. So we just had Akash today. I'm wondering if you have anything you'd like to ask or speak to in particularly.
That's a good question. Let's see. Yeah, I could ask you something. I want to find out how I can come more into balance with bringing my body and my physical body and my spiritual body more into alignment with one another. I do feel really grounded and I feel in my vitality. And yet it feels like there's a little bit of disconnect between the physical and the spiritual. And I think there's some refinement that can happen there. I wonder if you have insight about that.
Yeah. So, right now, what's coming through is that this is like an essential aspect to work on right now. And um, a lot of healers, way showers, light bearers, whatever you want to call it, refer to it as, um, are having a similar experience. It's kind of this like so don't feel like there's something wrong with you individually, with your practice. Keep moving forward. If you see room where you really can fine tune and deepen, do that. um and so it's like, okay, so it's really interesting. It's kind of like, oh, like I'm seeing like an ambulance, and kind of like this like time where there's been this like intense trauma that's taken place. And um and which is kind of true with with what took place when the coronavirus first like really hit hard. There were a lot of people that like quickly just went deep into like darkness, into intense fear. And so the light, the pillars of light anchoring the love, anchoring like that like stabilizing, keeping the frequency at a place to where it's maintained in the heart center, keeping it as elevated as possible. um it's kind of like, so if you're like a first responder, if you are a first responder to a crime scene, to to a car accident or something, just any kind of accident, something intense where it's kind of a traumatic experience. First responders, you don't have time to like cry it out, to like really like be in the intense emotion. You just have to stay focused and centered on the work you're doing, and really be present with that, so that you can help ease the situation as quickly, as gracefully as possible. And so it's like in that moment, like it's just such a focus in that aren't as like fully present to maybe perhaps be with the full spectrum of emotion that arises from such an intense situation. And so it's like, so it's almost, it's not like are checked out, because it's like it's this like it's like everything in practice is then like implemented in those moments, in that time period, like all of that, like just like all of that. It's not a practicing. And so it's almost like, you're not thinking about it. You're on autopilot in a sense, but not in a way that you're checked out of reality. In fact, it's like you're so checked into reality that there's not that focus as much on. It's like you are doing the spiritual practice, because I know you're holding meditations, you're very like focused on the spiritual practices, but it was also like this big energetic output to bring that to others, to keep that there, that it wasn't as focused on self and as focused on your own connection with spirit, but it was just for holding that anchor so that spirit could be present for like, so it's just an expansion of energy that you were holding, that light bearers have been holding. And so now, as like there comes to be more ease, more people have been able to process, it's not as deep in that fear state. So now it's kind of like, okay, so you've taken, the people, you were first responder on the scene. It's kind of at that, like everything's kind of been more cleaned up, and perhaps there's more work that needs to be done, and whatever that might be. But now it's kind of like, okay, now you're at the point where it's like your time to like now do the things that help you to feel really like safe and warm. And so it's like now do not need to focus as much on bringing that to others and can bring it
Mm,
back in a little bit more. And so,
yeah.
just continuing to do the things, just the fact that you feel this, you're ready to to do, to work on that. It's happening. You're in that process. It's you're starting to decompress a little bit. You are still holding
Hmm.
space and energy, but not to the intensity. Now there's not so much deep fear that you don't need to hold as much. You can kind of relax
Mm,
a little bit more. There's not as much
mm,
space holding now, since it's there's more of a balance. And so it's kind of like saying, it's like this opportunity is now your opportunity to, oh, one, give yourself a pat on the back, and maybe that's just like a nice massage or something, but basically
mm,
just really appreciate what you've done in that time, and know that the connection is still there and solid. And and once really do have that opportunity, as time goes on and delve back into it, the connection is still there, just as strong. The mind body spirit connection is there, but now you can really focus it more inwards. It's not as much of holding the space for others. And so through that, bringing it back in, then, and it's almost even like there's a lot of people plugged into you, there's now some that can they don't need to be plugged in anymore. So then you can hold
mhm.
it back in for yourself, kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
thank you. That resonates a lot. I feel like I have been holding space for a greater amount of beings and people, and some of the people I'm letting go of cords and attachments with so that I have more energy for putting towards what's being created. Um, and I think before was more like a time of holding the channel open so that the inspiration and the higher frequencies can come through into the earth. And now the focus is making sure that the flow from the earth is coming up into the heart. Um, because it wasn't going as equally before, but now the earth energy and the physicality can meet the spirituality in the heart, and it can in a bigger way. I feel like it was before, but maybe in a much larger way now. And I have more of my sovereignty, more of my soul essence present, rather than it just being dissolved into the greater source and divinity, but more of the specific sun ray that my soul is really coming into focus now. And it feels really good to start anchoring that in. And maybe what's shifting is like a perspective of identity or something like that. It feels like maybe that's a piece of it. But I resonate with everything that you said. I just wanted to add that to it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. That was
Anytime.
really clarifying.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love what you kind of added to it. It seems like the releasing attachment to identity is perhaps how you've grown from that now. And that's kind of
Mm,
we get a reward is the less we identify with this one thing, then the more, we can, the more, I don't know,
mm.
the more we become, so to say.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so that, yeah.
Are there any questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah, I'd love to ask one too. Hmm. Oh, let's see. Yeah, so the biggest thing for me that's coming up is I feel sometimes I have a friend that I really love and super adore, and yet I find myself allowing my boundaries to get pushed by this person. Um,
Mm,
and and I don't understand it. I wonder, why are these boundaries here? Or why can't I just set the appropriate boundary and stick to it? Why do I feel like I let this person input? And it's a past lover, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, that's why, but it's like and I just let this happen, like, over and over again, and it's like, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm curious, like, maybe why it feels, like, so strong that I just allow this to happen, and why like, what I can do to, like, really fortify and just like, be very clear, like, I don't know why, like, why is it so hard, first of all, to, like, set it and state it, like, when other situations, it's so easy for me with other people, but this one person, like,
Mm.
it's so challenging.
Yeah, I understand. I feel like the first thing that I'm being shown is some energy leaks in the shadow part of your being, where this person has like found a back door almost into your triggers, into pushing your buttons, and maybe pushing your buttons in a good way. But this is an opportunity for you to see where you're not fully like protecting yourself, or where you're not fully aware of different places that people can come in and maybe take advantage, or manipulate a little bit. And I think sometimes when we have such large open hearts, then people like to take advantage of that because they feel like they wouldn't be able to get any of that love or any of that heart unless they did it in kind of a sneaky way, or in a way uh, that that is not necessarily invited specifically. And so this is all a lesson for you to see where you're not keeping yourself protected, or where you need to have more strength, more backbone, be able to speak your truth more. And then it's really important for you to know why these boundaries are there for you, and what are your philosophies and what are your thoughts around creating those boundaries. And if those are truly important to you, where you're making those boundaries for yourself and not because somebody else wants you to make those boundaries, then it will be easy for you to stick to them, or easier for you to stick to them. And if
Mhm.
you're in an obligation state where you're setting those boundaries because someone else wants you to set those boundaries, then there's something to be looked at there, and maybe a conversation to be had around what your true desires are, or what your truth is. And maybe once you speak more about your truth, then it'll start to become clear about what your true belief system is and what your true desires are. And so I think some of the reason why this person is taking advantage, or like pushing boundaries, is because they sense that you're not totally clear on what your belief system is around the boundaries, or what your moral integrity is around the boundaries. And when you are absolutely in your strength and in your truth and in your certainty, then nobody can touch that. They'll have to respect that because you have such strong backbone and you have such clear words. And so it feels like a good exercise is for you to practice bridging the throat and the heart, and maybe even toning into those places. And then connecting to source and your higher self, and asking for what is your true desire, what is your true belief system around these boundaries, and be open to whatever that is. Maybe it's something opposite than what you've been trying to hold, or maybe it's something in the middle of what you've been trying to hold. So also journaling that out of all, where you don't have to worry about saying it to someone who might take it wrong, or possibly talking to somebody who could be a confidant or a counselor, so that you can just speak it out or write it out, and just start processing your words in that way. Then you can start really peeling back the layers and getting to the core of the issue of what is truly important to you, what do you truly value, and um, what are you standing up for? What do you believe in? And what are you demanding from your relationships with other people? For me, one of those things is that it's important for me to be treated with respect. And so if there are people in my life who are constantly crossing those boundaries and not treating me with respect, then I have to let them go, because it's important for me to stand my ground, to speak my truth, and to respect myself. And I'm not respecting myself if I let somebody else cross those boundaries all the time. And so it's a piece of discernment too. One of the things is that to be in our truth and integrity, then we don't have to take anything that anybody else feels around that personally, because our truth is our truth and their truth is their truth. So anything that they have to feel around that or say around that, we can listen to and we can hold space for, but we don't have to take it on into our fields or into our hearts. Like if they're feeling shame around it, they might try to project guilt onto you and make you feel guilty for holding those boundaries. But if you're clear on why those boundaries are in integrity for you and why you're in alignment with it, then you don't have to take it personally that they are having a struggle with guilt and shame. And then we can really see through that. So I also work with the spiritual ally of the owl, who allows us to see through the dark, through the shadows, through the masks, and to see straight to the core of the issue. And so maybe also calling in some allies when you're having those conversations, or when you're doing internal work and self-exploration work, will also be supportive for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. It gives me a lot of clarity and it helps me understand like why, um, and then how to like move forward. Yeah. Thank you. That was
Yeah, you're
really
welcome.
oh,
Mm.
yay. Yeah. Well, we're at time now. Shall we go ahead and close?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. And so we'll allow the messages that came through today to integrate into our bodies, integrate into the earth so that all may receive exactly what they need. With the deepest of gratitude, we close the Akashic Records. With deep, deep gratitude, we close the Akashic Records. With the deepest of gratitude, the Akashic Records are now closed.
Mm.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank